Hello everyone, welcome back to Tactical Masterclass. Today we are going to talk about runes and how to clear rune spaces in your inventory. Like when you clearing your runes for in your inventory, then which one you should keep and which one you should sell. This is a guide I will try to make for everyone from early game to end game. And so first of all, this is going to be a very long video, so brace yourself. And also, the first thing I would say to grab a paper and a pen or a diary or something like that, and you start to write it down, because this is so much information that otherwise you will forget, or maybe you have to check again the video again and again, and this is, as this going to be a very long video, then so you will not be able to find it where exactly the point you are looking for. So pause the video now and go find a pen, a paper or a diary or something, and write down the information you need, and you have to keep in mind which one you need. Just write them down. Okay, so let's start with the basics first. I expect this okay I expect everyone by now to know the basics of runes, like, but I will glance over them very quickly. Like slot 2, 4 and 6, these slots 2, 2, 4 and 6, always look for percentage, or in the slot 2 you look for speed. Slot 1, 3, 5, the main stat always will be flat attack, flat defense and flat HP. Okay, now the main other thing is the main stat, whichever your rune is having, you cannot have that same stat on your substat. So that means also, like, another thing, like slot 1 is a attack type rune and slot 3 is a defense type rune. So in slot 1 you cannot have defense percentage or flat defense, and in slot 3 you cannot have attack percentage or flat attack. Now this is the most important thing for differentiating yourself from early game to the end game, because many YouTubers make the videos like Rune Clean Up or crafting rune, and according to them 90% of our runes are useless. Yeah, because I don't blame them, and I don't, like, they are not saying anything wrong, they are absolutely right whatever they're saying, but the problem is it's not very helpful in early game or mid game. So you need to make yourself a threshold, like what you need. So the threshold I am suggesting you is about speed. The only thing, if you can remember the speed, and later on I will discuss other things, the speed is the main substat or stat you have to keep in mind to differentiate yourself in different level of games. So how do you do that? First of all, you have to find yourself like your fastest speed monster. So like in my case, my fastest speed swift set is having, like, on Unsa plus 185. So what does that mean? Swift set gives 25% of speed. So generally the base speed of every monster is around 100, so we will keep it as 100 and calculate everything on 100 base speed. So 25, that's gone. Slot 2 speed rune 42, that's gone. So 25 plus 42, that makes what? My calculation, 42 67, yeah, 67. So now if you want like your monster, a swift support type monster, to have like 150, around 150 speed, so then you will try to have the support type runes on like the other 5 slots. You need, like say you need 150 plus 150 speed on your support type monster, that you were making the threshold. For early game the threshold might be 130, in mid game might be 150, in end game 170, 180, 200, that depending on your stage of the game. So let's say for calculation purpose 167, that's easier. So you need plus 20 on swift sets to reach that threshold. So let's say you have plus 2 or 3 grind, so that makes everything plus 18 speed you can keep. Okay, so in swift support type runes, let's say your attacker need to have, like you are in that case you are trying to have 100, like 200 speed on your attack monster, damage dealers I mean. So again slot 2, that brings out like 67 speed, so you need like another 40 speed, 40 something. So that you need to look for in your other stats, so around 10 speed on your damage type runes. So that is the speed threshold. And now let's talk about runes. This speed threshold thing, if you are confused, you can ask me in comments, and you can, depending on your stage, I will help you like what speed threshold should you make. And now let's talk about runes. There are mainly 3 types of runes you are looking for. Type 1 is a support type runes. What does a support type rune means? Support type runes means the main property here should be speed. Let's say like this rune, main property has to be speed, high speed, and the rest you are looking for HP, resistance, accuracy, defense, something like that. Now there is another thing called a damage type runes. Damage type runes can be both attack and defense, remember that. So let's say what a damage type rune look like let's say my Lucian. This is what a damage type rune looks like. You will have critical damage, attack if it's attack type, or it's a defense type damage dealer, then you will see defense type, like say defense, critical rate, critical damage. And another type is a tank type. Now what is the tank type? Tank type, your main focus should be high HP, like let's say Skogul. Here you have high HP, little bit of speed, and resistance, accuracy, or flat HP, flat defense. That is all called a tank type runes. I can show you another example. Here the main focus is the HP or defense and resistance, accuracy, but speed is little bit of less. So these are called the tank type runes. So these 3 runes, and you have to look for synergistic stats. What do you mean by synergistic stats? Like say you're seeing a attack type rune, main stat attack, or 2 of the 3's substats are two of the four substats are attack type like attack or critical rate, but the other two are support type like resistance, accuracy. That doesn't make any sense. So that rune is not very good synergistic rune. And again, let's say you have a good HP and speed, but you will having again critical rate and critical damage with that, so that also makes your rune not very synergistic. So let's go through each set of runes and discuss how they are going to, like, which stats you are going to keep and what not and everything. So first of all, you will delete everything that is not synergistic stats in them. Okay, next, first of all, you will delete anything that is not percentage or speed in slot 246. Then next stage you will delete everything that the subs are not synergistic, like say this rune. These stats, it's a speed main, then it has resistance, critical damage, accuracy and attack. I mean, what the hell? Nothing makes sense. It's neither a attack type rune, neither a defense type, tank type, neither a support type. So these runes doesn't make any sense, so we sell that. Now that goes out of the way, the synergistic thing you will always delete. Now in case of energy rune, the main stat in slot 2, it will look for either HP or speed. The speed is like you will have like this type of rune: a speed, HP, defense and critical rate or critical damage. We can like gem in another stat with that in the place of critical rate here, so that makes it a good rune. Now in case of slot 4 mainly and slot 6 mainly, you will be looking for HP percent in energy. Other things that not very good, but if the synergistic stats is very good and have very high roll, you can always keep them, or the rolls in speed is very high, then you can keep them. Okay, and same 1 3 5 slots, you will be look for high HP roll or speed roll, but for energy you will be mainly looking for support type runes. So that goes the energy. Let's go on to the guard. What type of runes you will be looking for? Same again, slot to speed, I don't have to say that. Now also you will be looking for slot to defense. If you already have built your triple Ikaru team, then you will be not keeping anything other than slot to defense with damage type runes. But if you are not yet have built your triple Ikaru, then you will be keeping everything defense type, everything slot 2 defense, slot 4 defense, slot 6 defense, because you don't know what you are going to need when you are building triple Ikaru. But I'm assume that you will have built your triple Ikaru team, so you will only need slot 2 only defense type or speed. So this rune is HP, accuracy, it doesn't make any sense. I will sell it. I can keep it if it's an early game to see if it roll high speed, but for me, if you are early game, you will keep this type of runes, but in case of my case, I will not keep it. So slot 4 also you will be looking defense, or you will be looking for crit damage with damage type runes. Slot 6 same, defense and critical rate, critical damage in sub. That will be looking like kind of this, or I don't have any other thing, right? Like I have kept this rune because it rolled good speed it's not enough for you, maybe it's enough, but I'm just keeping it like that. So that goes out of the way guard. Now let's talk about swift. Now swift is one of the very versatile set. You can either have damage type runes or tank type runes or support type runes. If it's a support type runes, your main focus should be speed. Anything with speed you have to keep. And if it's an attack type, if it meets your speed threshold for your damage dealer, then you keep it. But also you will be want to keep the slot 6 accuracy for swift runes, okay, because many strippers or many defense breakers like Galleon, they might need slot 6 accuracy. So you will be also keeping the slot 6 accuracy with high speed rolls. So that goes swift. So mainly speed, or if it's a damage type, if it meets your speed threshold, then keep it. If not, sell it. Okay, now blade. Right next, blade is mainly a damage type set. Remember, every sets I'm saying, if it rolls high speed, it doesn't matter what sets, what synergy it has, doesn't really matter. Okay, everything goes out the window if it rolls high speed. So everything you have high speed rolls, keep it. If it's not high speed rolls, then slot 2 and 6 you will look for attack, speed or defense. Slot 4 in blade you will be mainly looking for critical damage or critical rate. Sometimes you need critical rate also in blade, so I will be suggesting, if it roll high speed, only keep high speed rolls, then keep critical rate. And as I said, HP, defense, attack, you can keep it rolls if it rolls high speed, otherwise sell it. Now the next set is rage, right? So rage is also a damage type set. So in slot 2 and slot 4 you will be looking for HP, defense or attack, and slot 6 anything other than critical damage I would not keep. Flat attack, attack percentage, defense percentage, HP percentage, sell unless it rolls a like huge amount of speed. You sell everything. In slot 2 you can keep speed if it's a damage type synergistic stats, like let's say, let me give an example like this. Sorry, like this, a damage type synergistic stats, so you can keep this. But this type of rune, it doesn't make any sense, you should sell it, because in rage there is a no place for this. Okay, we can use other sets for these support types things, because you say it's have high accuracy, defense, flat HP percentage, so it's mainly a support type rune. So you don't need a support type rune in rage. You only keeping support type runes in rage in other slots if it rolls really high speed, like this HP slot 6 with 17 speed. It's kind of decent, so you can keep it. Otherwise you will only look for critical damage. This is a very good example of attack type runes. Another good example of attack type runes. Another good example of a damage type runes. Okay, so that is how we're going to look for. Let's say this rune, I will only keep this rune if it rolls high speed. This rune, same, if it rolls triple speed I will keep it. This rune, critical damage, I can keep either it which rolls double speed or double defense. I can keep. Why I keeping this rune? Sell it. Doesn't make any sense. You see, slot 6 HP, no speed in rage. Doesn't make sense. Sell. Now say focus. Focus also like the opposite of rage. It's a mainly a support type rune. So you will only look for support type stats, and slot 2 I will look for speed mainly. You can keep defense. Again, if you have not built triple Ikaru, you can keep defense because sometimes your Ikaru will need a slot 2 defense on focus to give accuracy. So keep slot 2 for 6 defense if you haven't built triple Ikaru, but mainly slot 2 speed with synergistic stats, either attack or either damage or support. Slot 4 mainly defense and HP with high speed, and slot 4 same defense and HP plus you will add accuracy too, because sometimes again you will need that accuracy slot 6 for your stripper or defense breaker. So that goes for Swift. Fatal is same, mainly a damage type, but particularly damage attack type. Defense damage type in Fatal doesn't really make sense. So let's say talk about this rune. I can keep this rune only if it rolls critical rate or attack. Okay, this rune only if it rolls speed. As I said, sorry, I am showing you wrong. In case Fatal, this one. Yeah, let's see. This rune, a good speed, good critical damage, resistance. I can gem out the resistance with attack. If I have like this, I can do that. Then it becomes a good damage type runes. Let's say talk about this rune, good speed. I keep it. Good speed, I'm keeping it. This is a very good damage type, all synergistic stat. Even with low speed, I'm keeping it. Again, this rune, high critical rate. Remember, not only speed is a very high value stat, also critical rate is high value stat now, because after the critical rate fix. Again, this rune, I am keeping it because it's a very good synergistic stats all around. Even if it's a 5-star rune, I am keeping it because all the stat makes sense together. Now I want to show you like a rune that stats doesn't make sense. Let me find like this rune. S slot to speed, accuracy, critical damage, and means you are seeing the high defense roll. So I told you it's a damage type rune set, so and attack damage type, so slot to defense. In the defense percentage high roll, it doesn't make any sense, so you are selling it. Okay, now another thing you are looking for in slot 4 is mainly critical damage, or you are looking for attack, because some bombers will need attack like this. But in case of you are having attack, you will also look for if it have accuracy or speed. Okay, if it doesn't have accuracy or speed, then slot 4 attack doesn't really make very good use. Only use for slot 4 attack is for bombers. Same, slot 6 is very easy, only while looking for attack with synergistic stats, either for bomber or either for your normal critical rate, critical damage dealer. So that goes for Fatal. Endure, mainly a support type, just look for high speed rolls, same as Focus, but you will not need accuracy slot 6 as for in focus, so you can sell them. But anything with high speed rolls, like I'm keeping this rune if it rolls high speed. Same here, same here. This rune can roll high speed, so I'm keeping this. Let's say this rune didn't roll speed, didn't reach my speed threshold, so I will be selling it. But let's say you are a very early game and you got this rune. It's a very good rune for you because you have to decide your speed threshold, and if it reaches your speed threshold in, like, when you are starting a game and you got this kind of a rune with 9 speed, that will make your monster like 5 or like support type monster over 200 speed. In early game that is not bad, so you will be keeping like this rune in early game, but in mid game and in late to end game you will not be keeping those runes. So there you go. Now I will talk about despair. Again, mainly a support type, but you can use damage type. I will talk about that later, but let me first tell you about support type, because you already know support types. Slot 2 only speed, nothing else. HP defense, don't keep it. Slot 4 and 6 HP or defense only with high speed, keep. Like say this rune, good defense, flat HP, a flat defense. I can roll this flat defense with like percentage HP, gem in, so this becomes a good rune. This rune, nothing makes sense, sell. This rune, good HP defense, critical rate, critical damage is there, but I can choose to gem in either one of those stats, so I keep it. This type of runes, attack type runes, doesn't make any sense for despair, but I will keep it because I will tell you about damage type later on. So let me tell you about damage type despair rune. The damage type despair runes either are two types. One is a fast, like this, or like this if it rolls good attack or critical damage, or like, let me give you another example. Where can I find, like this, a damage type despair rune which gives you high speed. That is goes for the speed type despair. And another thing, and one special monster there is, you need support tank damage. This very unique type of set, tank damage type sets, that is for your Antares. Which kind of stats you are looking for? Let me see if I can find one. Like this type of rune, critical rate, critical damage, HP, defense, just high value stats all over the place. Doesn't matter if it had speed, but very tanky stats with damage type. So that is for Antares. And also you will be trying to keep despair slot 6 accuracy. That is also, sometimes you use your strippers on despair, so that might also help. So that goes for despair. Now let's go on to the next set, vampire. Vampire slot 2 speed always if it's synergistic, either attack type or high HP tank type. Remember, tank type runes, not support types like accuracy and resistance like that. If it's a speed and have HP, it should be a tank type rune, like where I can show you one. Like in case of Skogul, you know, and in slot 2 you can also keep HP for Skogul if it rolls good speed. In this case this rune didn't roll very good speed, so I'm going to sell it. Now slot 4 you can either look for critical damage if it's a damage type rune, or you can look for HP if it had speed in base, in in substat high speed. Same case in slot 6, either you are looking for attack type, if it's a damage type, and you are looking for HP with speed in sub. How will look for attack type? This kind of rune is damage attack type, and let me see if I can find any HP type. Yeah, like this is also kind damage kind of HP type, but the main thing here is the HP and base speed. It, like say this rune, some might say it doesn't make any sense, this rune doesn't have any synergistic stats, but I told you only look for synergistic stats if it doesn't meet your speed threshold criteria. It already met my speed threshold criteria for tank vampire runes. I want my Skogul around 70-80 speed and HP, so that makes my speed threshold, meets my speed threshold criteria, so I don't want to see if it's synergistic or not. Okay, now let's talk about a very versatile rune is Violent. In Violent, actually everyone thinks Violent is only good if you have speed, but no. Good violent speed monster is always good. Violent monster with high speed is always good. You will also always look for high speed violent, but that doesn't mean you will sell everything else. If you have synergistic stats in your runes, Violent is very good, because you will need so much different monsters in Violent. So only thing I would tell you to sell definitely is slot 6 resistance. Even then, if it rolls high speed, I will keep it, because Violent is very unique sled. So slot 2 speed, like all the types, damage or support or tank. Slot 2 attack, always look for speed or high critical rate. Defense slot 2, yes, defense slot 2 defense you can sell in Violent 2, but if it rolls high speed, keep it, because you don't know, you might get Feng Yan, so then you will also need it. And slot 2 HP, only keep it with high speed sub. Now slot 4 critical damage, you can keep if it's synergistic stats, doesn't matter if it has speed or not. If it has speed, then very good. If it doesn't have speed, you can always you can keep that. Like this type of runes, you see it doesn't have a speed, but attack, critical rate, defense, flat attack, that is very synergistic set, so I keep. And will also keep if it's a high speed, like let's say I will sort by speed, critical damage and speed, like say this, even if doesn't make any sense, I will also keep this. So that is for Violent critical damage. Violent defense or HP percent rune, you will always look for speed in slot 4. Two other stat you will be looking for in Violent, same as focus and in Fatal. I told you slot 4 attack percent, because for bombers same speed and accuracy, that's all you will all look for if it's a slot 4 attack. If it doesn't have them, sell it. Also be using, sometimes you'll be looking for slot 6 slot 4 critical rate, because sometimes maybe you will get a Diana, or you might need it for your birthday. So keep slot 4 critical rate if it rolls high speed. Now slot 6 for violent, same attack if it's have synergistic stats. Like, let me show you, like this, it's a very all-round stats, so you keep it. Or if it has high speed like this, you can keep it. Or this synergistic stats, you keep it. Or HP defense type, you will need HP defense and then high speed, high speed, high speed, good speed, and a damage type, HP damage type set. So that goes for slot 6. You also will be keeping slot 6 accuracy for violent, because in later game you will be looking to move your galleon on violent will. So in that case you might need a violent accuracy slot 6. So that goes for the violent. Next set is nemesis. Nemesis rune is mainly a support type, but that's not all. You can also keep attack type nemesis runes, but it's not in case of like violent. Like any synergistic stats, I am going to keep it because violent is very useful. In case of nemesis, if it doesn't have speed in your damage type sets, there is no point keeping it. Okay, if it doesn't have speed, that doesn't make your threshold, you have no point keeping it. That goes for slot 2 attack, slots for critical damage, or even slot 2 speed with attacks type of slot. If there is attack type good synergy, then keep. In support type, if no HP, like say this, if this didn't have HP, there's no point of keeping. Let me see if I, like this rune, if it never going to, there's no way it going to go have good stats all around. Like it cannot become a damage type, it also cannot become have HP roll, high HP roll. So this rune doesn't make any sense in nemesis. You only nemesis triggers when you have high HP. Otherwise, if you have very low HP, nemesis will not trigger, you will die first. So you will need HP to trigger nemesis. So that's why you will be needing, if it doesn't have HP, there's no point of keeping. This rune can turn into a damage type rune if it rolls high into attack, so I keep it. This also same, but the rune I sold before, there is no chance that could turn into a good damage type runes or support type runes. Again, this, why I'm keeping this rune rolled very good critical damage. I can just gem away the accuracy with attack. I don't have attack gem. If I can find an attack gem and roll away the accuracy, then it becomes a very good damage type set. Now let's go on to will. Will is same as violent. The only difference is it is even more versatile than violent. I told you in violent, like in case of support type, you don't keep unless it has speed. In case of damage type in violent, you can keep even if it doesn't have speed, and it roll every other stat very good, and grindable stats everywhere, so you keep them. But in case of will, even in case of support type, even if it doesn't roll speed, you still keep them, because there is this thing, slow shield will cleave teams. So that's why you will be keeping very very tanky, also tanky will runes. As long as the stat synergizes with itself, you keep them. Also you will be looking for accuracy, same as for violent, focus and swift. Slot 6 accuracy is very important stat for also will. So remember, will, I'm telling you some runes like fight, will, violent, despair, focus and swift. These 6 sets you can keep slot 6 accuracy. Other than that, sell everything, sell all the accuracy slot 6. Only this 6 sets I'm telling you again: fight, will, violent, focus, despair and swift. These 6 you only keeping the slot 6 accuracy. Now that goes up the way will, because will is as I told you, let me show you some runes here that will be, let's say this rune is speed, good tanky stats. I keep them. It either can be a support type or a tank type rune. HP, I keep it because it has good attack, good defense, accuracy, resistance. So I can so this is becomes a very good tank type will rune. Again, let me go there. It's a defense type damage for will, critical rate, critical damage, defense, you keep it. Also a very good speed damage rune, speed, attack, critical rate, critical damage. And also a tank, shield will clip type rune, slot 2 HP with no speed but good defense, you keep it. Let me show you more. If I can find it, like let's say this rune, very good damage type runes, very high speed and damage, I keep it. A kind of support type rune, high speed and other support type stat, accuracy, resistance, I keep it. Kind of tank type runes, main focus is on HP, defense, I also keep it. Critical rate, a good speed for my threshold for this unit, I keeping it. This is another what I told you about, like tank, shield will clip type unit with no speed, high HP, defense rolls, I keeping it. Now you might say, Kai, but you are keeping everything in will. No, I am not keeping everything. This rune, it has defense percent, so but no speed, so that means it cannot become a first. When you are seeing this kind of rune, what you will see, defense percent main slot, okay. Does it have speed? No, it doesn't have speed, so it cannot become a support type runes. Does it have HP to become a tank type runes? No. So what's the point of keeping it? Sell. You see my point. See this rune again, slot for HP percent, it either can be support or a tank type, right? Does it have speed? No. Does it have defense? Main slot HP, so it cannot have HP anymore. So does it have defense? No. So it cannot be a good tank type rune either, so you sell it. This rune, a attack type, it has speed, it can become a bomber rune, I keep it. This rune, a defense type, it didn't roll good enough speed for my liking and didn't have good HP, either so that it can become a tank type rune. So I sell this. This is a rune critical damage. I am keeping it. Why? See, this is another example, a critical damage rune, but the stat doesn't synergize as well, because the stats, if you like block the above part, the main stat, and look at the stat, you will say this is a tank type rune, right? But it's a damage type rune, but with tank type substats. Doesn't make any sense. You sell this. So this is goes your will. Now let's go on to the next, shield. Now again, if you remember, I am talking about the shield will set. So shield is also actually very versatile set, and you have to keep almost everything with synergistic stats. If it's a support type, look for speed. If it's a damage type, either can be speed damage type or can be tank damage type, or it can be a tanky rune, tanky support type for shield will cleavers, like this. HP, accuracy, flat HP, little bit of speed, so I keep this. Let me show you some more if I can find it. Like say this is a tanky damage type set, like attack, critical red critical damage with good HP but no speed. This is again same HP, defense, critical red critical damage, a tank attack type rune. This is let's say, let me find if I can see. This is again good speed, a support type rune, I keeping it. This is a tank type rune, I'll be keeping it. Later I will be try to find good, more better like tank stat with high HP, higher HP, but you get my point. Like this rune, if it rolls good speed, then it becomes a good support type runes. If it doesn't, sell. Again same, it doesn't matter if it has speed, because as I told you, good synergistic stats, all that matters. Again this case, if it rolls good, I will keep. This becomes a good support type rune because it has high speed roll, so you are going to keep it. Again this is a kind of in between damage type tank set for shield will cleavers, so you are keeping it like this. So the next set I will talk about is revenge. Revenge type sets are mainly two types, either support or tank. Very rarely there is a damage dealer that works on revenge, but even if it's a damage dealer that works on revenge, I would say that revenge rune, if it's a damage type rune revenge, you will be looking for tanky stat along with that. Because let's say if you are a monster and someone hits you and you want to revenge, but what if it hits you and kills you? So what's the point of having revenge if you are not tanky enough to tank that shot? You understand my point? So if it's a attack type revenge, look for tanky stats, HP, defense with that, with attack, critical, red critical damage. Now if it's a support type revenge set, speed is very important. You always look for speed. And in tank type revenge rune, resistance is very important, because let's say you are using a Darien, or I cannot remember anything else. Let's say you are using Darien and you are putting him on revenge, and you want to like your idea is someone hit your Darien, or Darien will revenge and defense break, and then your other damage dealer can hit. But let's say your Darien gets stunned. What's the point of having revenge then? It cannot revenge anymore, right? So if it's a tank type, so you keep very high resistance on it. So that's one thing for revenge. Now in case of destroy, I would say this is a very underused set, but it's very unique set. So for now, actually, in case of destroy rune, synergistic stats and high speed rolls, you can keep both, but not as much as support types. Even if it's a high speed rolls, you will only look for good HP defense, like those kind of stats. It doesn't really work in case of a support type, like the destroy mainly for tanky bruisers or like heavy damage dealers. Only two of those cases destroy works. You can use destroy in other cases, but that is not very useful because you are just going to make the fight feel really wrong, and I don't like those kinds of fights. So unless it rolls very high speed, I will not suggest you to keep. But if it doesn't roll high speed, look for synergistic stats. If it has synergistic stats, then you are going to keep it. Like this rune, it didn't roll any speed, didn't roll other but it has kind of synergistic stats, so I'm keeping it. This rune is a tank, as I was saying, a tanky type, not support type, a tanky type rune that you are going to keep. This rune again, it's a kind of tanky rune. This rune doesn't make any sense. I am selling it because let's see, it cannot be either a defense type damage set or cannot be a support type or tank type sets because it doesn't have little bit of speed. Even I was telling you, and a slot 6 flat defense always sell. So now we are left with the new sets: fight, determination, tolerance, accuracy, and enhance. So first let me tell you about the this last three set: tolerance, accuracy, enhance. Sell everything if it doesn't roll high speed. Everything, yeah. You don't need to keep any other thing. If it rolls like very high speed, only keep, otherwise sell. In case of fight, you want speed, but you also want to keep some trash runes for your BJR5, and you also want to keep very tanky runes for your BJR5. So kind of a versatile set, I would say. Both support type and damage type, keep them, because I use my when I'm using double Lucian, my faster Lucian, he is on double fight, that boosts my damage. So that's after that goes my second Lucian, who deals huge amount of damage because of these fight sets you are having. And this is the fight sets you are looking for, like high speed damage type sets. Now as for determination set, as I told you, look for speed, but also slot 246 defense keep if you haven't yet built your triple Ikaru, because you don't know, you might need it. Also slot 3 for determination, I'm saying slot 5 and slot 3, if it has defense percent, keep it, because you might need it for your triple Ikaru. This rune, I already have my triple Ikaru, so I don't need this rune, but you might need it because it can roll 8 8, that makes 1622 defense, and you might get a 7 that 29 defense. That is very good for triple Ikaru, so you might keep these types of sets. Okay, so that goes up the way. So everything is done. Let me tell you again about the three types of runes. Damage type, either can be attack or defense type. Very few HP type damage dealers are there, but I don't like suggest you to keep for them. Like, I can only remember two monster, Ashir and Zerath, but even Ashir kind of people use support type runes now to like be a stripper instead of a damage dealer, and there is a not very big chance that you are going to get a Zerath. So damage type only attack and defense, I would say. Support type high speed, accuracy, resistance, HP, defense. Tank type mainly HP and defense, little bit of speed. And your speed threshold for your level, you have to make that by yourself. If you don't understand the speed threshold, ask me in the comment. I will try to make it clear again. So I know it's a long video and lots of information to swallow. That's why I told you to bring a paper or pen and or diary, something like you note it down. Yeah, so hope you like the video. Thanks for watching, and give a like and subscribe. See you next